started. Okay, so thank you, Eileen, very much for agreeing to be part of this short video, talking about your experiences of self-evaluation. So I really do appreciate it, because I know you're stuck for time like everybody else is. It's really difficult. But we thought it would be a really useful way to support other managers and staff about how they can implement self-evaluation in their service. So as I say, we really do appreciate you taking the time to make the video and help us with this. So do you want to say a wee bit about who you are and where you are?
Yeah, I am a qualified nurse. I've done sort of this role also for probably about 30 years, but done degree level, done postgraduate and later life studies as well. So yes, I've worked in the independent sector for 30 years. I started as a home manager and worked my way up to regional ops manager, director, what have you. So basically I came back to the role and a full circle to home manager probably 2017. So so I'm back to the sort of roots of basically with looking at all the things that go in care homes. I thought maybe time to go back and have my own home, fix it, keep it going, maintain it, and have good practice, and then not worry about loads of other homes. So that's where I've been. So yeah, so this is probably 2023 now. So yeah, done it that length of time.
Yeah. Oh, that's great. So quite a long and varied career then. That's good.
Yeah, yeah, it is. It's been very sort of passionate about what I do and been challenging, rewarding. But it's to say, yeah, long time.
Yeah. And when did you first think about introducing self-evaluation into the service?
I mean, probably because those I've had, I've sort of been involved with the care inspector quite a lot, sent the feedbacks for years, all with managers, going to all the conferences, always looking at all the care inspector documentation and how to use it. Self-evaluation, probably it came out, I remember the document, and I'm thinking about 2017, 18, and it was self-assessment. We had the QAF, the Quality Assessment Framework. I remember as a manager, you had to complete all that and send it in. And if I can remember rightly, this kind of replaced it, and it was like, you know, self-evaluation, looking where you are in your service, what's good and what can you improve on. Yeah. So at that time, yeah, I went to a home that had lower grades and needed quite a bit of work in 2017, and I used that basically as a tool was to look at the service and look at what actually was going on, what was really good about it. I've always focused on all the positives because there are always positives everywhere, and then look at what is it we need to change. So, and it's really taking the staff with you. I think I'm only a facilitator as a manager. As I say, I know that it's a key person in the jigsaw, but basically it's your staff and the culture that gives you results and care. Yeah. And I'm basically facilitating that and supporting. So I would use it really to get your team on board as the document to get them to look at what are they doing that's really good and what are they doing that they think they could do better or they need support and training development to do that. Yeah. So that's what I would use that for.
So how have you managed to get staff on board to use self-evaluation? How have you kept them motivated?
I think, I mean, I've done over the years a lot of leadership courses, and again, I think it's always about looking at your service. Probably I've been using self-evaluation. I've been in this home just about a year, probably more recently, because at the beginning you're kind of looking at what's good, not changing anything to start with, just taking it all in, looking at people's skills. Always, have you got the right people doing the right thing, and also saying the right job, which I know is key. And then you're looking at what are the strengths. Invest your time in getting to know the staff and valuing them and making sure they are in the right roles. And then you're looking at gradually sort of introducing the standards, explaining to them what are the health and social care standards, what are the principles. I've got them up on the wall because people go panic, think, don't know what they are. So I think the framework really fits in with compassion, being included, dignity. It's basically what they're doing every day. But when you ask them about all the big words about, do you know, the standards and all this, and even senior staff will go, oh, you know, all that kind of stuff, they kind of panic. But I think probably for me, probably being a very people's person, I've broken down all my meetings to heads of department and probably or one member of staff from every department. So every meeting I have usually, unless it's train staff meeting. The monthly meeting is somebody from every area. So there's a
Right.
domestic, a maintenance man, my chef, carer, and a nurse. So ideally, everybody's involved in everything all the time. So it's not, and this home, I'd say, hopefully sustains as a good home because it's a team work. It's not, that's her job and that's mine. If I walk around and I see something on the floor and you pick up in the bin, it's not like I'm not domestic. So it's valuing the people, and I think staff feel really valued. That as a manager, you want to know exactly what do they think is really good in the home, and what do they think we can improve on, and what resources and training do they need for me to help them do their job. But to me, probably the question I probably digress a bit is it should be fun. You should be really love your work, be motivated, want to come in. And as I say, if work is fun and you're happy and you're a role model, everybody replicates. So I think it's definitely about you want to be here and you're passionate about what you do and you enjoy it. If you don't enjoy it, I think you should just look elsewhere. So
so it sounds like you involve your staff a lot in getting their ideas about what they do well and what they could improve. So you're obviously having that regular communication with all your staff across the board, whether it be care staff or maintenance staff or domestic staff. So that's really involving everybody, isn't it? And that's the way self-evaluation should work, isn't it? That everybody's part of it to make that improvement and to find out how good you are.
Definitely, and I think it's one size fits all. I mean, for here, like again, it's been COVID in 3 years, and as you know, in a lot of homes, training had fell away behind. A lot of things had to be reinvented again, started up, and even what staff loved. Then we did get our training platform where they've all got the online training. And it's funny, staff really embraced that, which I was quite amazed because they said sometimes they felt if they were in a training and they felt a wee bit silly and they didn't know the answer, they felt intimidated. So I thought people would run a mile with the online training because so I think it's never to judge. What do you think your staff would like? You know, so you would think they just embraced it. And you know, I've got a domestic who's on like 20 odd course. She's doing everything that's not even anything to do with her, but she just loves it and she likes to go in and do it. But so it is probably. I don't think there's. I think I would do away with a prescriptive way to run a service. So it's not like have surveys, have meetings, I know there's a lot in the framework about all your evidence, but again, it's looking at all the source of evidence to say though, but what suits this home, what works? Like, for example, most services, and I've done it in large corporates and different things, have flash meetings where you all heads of department meet at 11 o'clock. Some corporates, it's got to be a certain time, some corporates no. I've done it here. It wasn't feasible, it's just a small home. I couldn't take all people off the floor at 11 o'clock. I'm very not hands-on physically doing care work, but I do a walkabout. So I do a walkabout audits, replaced it, and then I do a handover report that goes under my door. So in some homes, absolutely, it works. Here, I thought, you know, I'm not taking people away at that time. It's not going to. So I think you have to look at, there's different ways of doing everything. And you don't have to be prescriptive and do certain audits all the time. You maybe look at what is the bit that I could improve, and maybe say down experience I thought was maybe my focus, that I thought that could be better. And I feel it's totally transformed because nearly all my observation audits use the framework. A lot of them have been nutrition because I thought that's a bit, and now I think, oh wow, it's getting there. And so I do think it shouldn't be prescriptive. You should self-assess what is the bit that's not good. Don't do them all the time, every month, when you know that area is fantastic, that area is always. So focus on the bit that's not good and spend less time on the bits that you think are really good. Why just have this gold standard audit schedule? So here, and this company is very good, we can tweak it to what we see is not as good, and things that are good, then I'm not going to audit that every 3 months or something, 4 months, 5 months, 6 months. So
so adapt it to what suits your service. And you were saying before when we were talking about you've been doing some work with staff about them doing the observations of practice and looking at maybe the dining room experience. So you're even involving staff in doing that element of self-evaluation. So that's really good. And then I would imagine that helps them to understand what self-evaluation is about and to see the difference that it can make.
Absolutely. I mean, an example would be my housekeeper who worked in Millport over like 129 residential outdoor centre, who'd never worked in a care home ever, but came in, and she's probably been here nearly as long as me, maybe just under the year, but came in totally new, never done it. It was great, total fresh eye. Attention to detail. She has the toilet paper, a wee V in the toilet, so very into attention to detail. But this was brand new. She's embracing everything. She's now doing my infection control audit. She's doing my King's Fund audit. She's given me a toilet seat audit as to what they are. We've now ordered like nice grey, this dark grey kind of hammerite paint to do. Our handrails are white because our toilet seats were blue, but somebody had put bleach over it and they were like marble effect, so they were replaced. So for somebody that has never worked in the sector, but basically amazing how she's using my framework. And I said, you take the environment component because you've been doing that all year. And now there's the framework, and I told her like a section. I'll open a section for it and say it's 4.1, whatever it is. Just read what is a really good home, and then look for 20 minutes on that observation as to, are we meeting that? What is good and what could we develop? And she's running with it. So I think it's really breaking it down to a wee bite-sized chunk as to, this is what looks like a good home. Is this what we are doing? We might be doing something that we think is not captured, but is there something you say, oh, I do think we could do that better? Because, and it's subjective. We're all totally different and we all read it. I mean, I've opened the standard. I'm not wonderful that I use it all the time, doing everything. But every time I use it and sit down and audit, I always find something that I could improve on, and good stuff. So no matter how many times I use it, and you open it up, and I think it's nice, short and sweet, robust. Just read it, see what evidence the care inspector have advised you could look at, and come up with an action. And basically, I think that feeds into what we've improved is a huge amount of small things that I think has made the service go into that wow thing that you can focus on. Sort of, you're not having critical things, you're focusing on the attention to detail that could be a critical thing if you don't capture it.
So that's looking at audits and looking at observation tools, looking at things like best practice, looking at the sort of standards as well, that bringing all that into doing your evaluation in your service.
Definitely. I mean, I think it's being visual, being available as well. I've got a bright pink, I don't put a nurse's tunic on, even though I'm a nurse, I don't want to do nursery things because it's been so long, but I put a bright pink beauty tunic on, maybe at least one day a week, and I go around, and it just means I feel I can dig in a bit more, and they see that you're just one of them. We're all here as a team, we're all here to do the same thing, we're having fun, what have you, and we're all like, I've got a green tunic, my admin's got a lovely black one with pink piping because I'm in pink, and actually my funny enough, my laundry's saying, oh, do you know, they're now really opening up and asking, like, do you know it's really hot in the laundry? And I went, yeah, and they're saying now we've got wine uniforms and it's domestic. Sometimes they think we're a domestic, and so I says, well, why don't you get scrubbed? So last night the conversation was, what colour do you want? So I'm very into colour. So it's here we are going, right, what do we get? So I'm like, today, Leslie, what bit light? Lavender. That would be great. And then I'm thinking, should we paint the walls lavender in the laundry? Why should it be such a boring thing? So every single day it's just thinking something nice.
Constantly thinking about things.
and things get in my head all the time. Tunic, what are they? They're like £8. And then I'm thinking, oh, lavender. And then what size would you be? Oh, I think so. I think we just go like that all the time on things and bounce off each other. They feel valued. You're getting them something. It's really hot, the laundry. There isn't a window in it, even though the other door's open. But you're valuing everybody. And they come in and go, oh, can I get one of them? That's absolutely great. And it's roasted in there. So I thought, absolutely. So yeah, I think it's just making it fun. And I think with COVID, it's been really tough. A lot of people don't want to work in the care sector. We had to recruit overseas for quite a bit, who are totally amazing. We've got staff really motivated. So the morale is really low in the sector. And I think you really want to say this is, see when you get great reviews from family and they just think people have come in and they're actually, life has begun since they came here. I've got some people saying that, and totally amazing. They've never had a life like they had. They come in, they're feeling a hotel. So there's a huge change of client groups because we have had some turnover residents. So now with that, they're all wanting to see what is the social thing that's on. People were frail in their beds, didn't come out because of COVID. So whole shift has been massive for managers. Really stressful, hard to do. And now that culture hopefully is changing. But it's about quality of life and so.
And how do you include people who live in the service as part, and the relatives say, as part of your self-evaluation?
Well, what I have is I've got this quaternion. I have a thing here. I've also got one up here earlier, and I'll keep forgetting one of these. But here I have like, I'm very into pictures and fun. So it's every quarterly we have afternoon tea with the relatives. So I think it's removing the word meetings and, you know, all these formal things about we're not in a factory, we're in somebody's home and people live here. So it's like, I don't say I'm just going to have relatives afternoon tea every 3 months where we come, we have nice fancy cakes, we have a chat and we just talk. And I put on it, you know, the last time, sometimes it can be a lot, sometimes not. But they'll go, oh, afternoon tea. And I said, yeah, my chef's a pastry chef. We'll put them up, we're looking on the water. So don't make it formal because nobody wants to go to meetings. The relatives in here, they've maybe got stresses outside. People are just meetinged out no matter what they're doing. But if you say, well, we've got nice cakes and I have a chat and tell you anything you want to know, had them a bit more formal and agendas and meetings. The last time it all went a bit social because we realised what's important to people, what matters to people is quality of life and all the social stuff, because that's if you've got all the care, you know, really good. And I believe I've got excellent nurses we have. But I think you have to have not just focus on tasks, it's about quality of life. So the last one was just purely talking about social stuff and what have you. So I've tailored the meetings to determine, and you might have a lot of admissions, new relatives. So basically just set it up, begin the year for the whole year and email them all. We've got an email for all the relatives. So I think it's changing the format from formal and make it fluffy. And afternoon tea, fashion show, do you want to come in and then we'll have a wee chat. So I think had a lady come in, her husband's in here, then in the 90s, came into my office and she was talking away and a lot of pressure because he's in here and she'd like to take him home but can't. And then she was getting antidepressants. By the time she went out, I said, go up the room, we'll send you up a tray of tea. So we sent it up. She came down, oh, Eileen, see, getting tea out of the best china, lovely green china, the cakes. We dropped her off home and posted her letters. She didn't need antidepressant time she left. And the family said, how you care for mum is amazing. But she's like part of our family. So I think it's looking at not just the resident, it's like a family culture and we're like one big family. So, and the staff are very, very committed to do what we can for people. So I think it is a small home and it's that person-centered, but we do having that empathy and compassion for people that it's not falseness. It's just a caring. And she said, I'm not ready to come in yet. And she'll say to the nurse, well, you missed me for 3 days, but I'm not quite ready to come in. It sounds like that. She'd come in here with the husband, but she's not quite ready. But it's having just going that wee bit extra for people when it comes naturally with staff.
And I think, and what you're describing is very much about how much you value everybody who's part of the service that you have. And, you know, you're obviously making people feel really welcome and comfortable. And the fact, you know, that they're not called meetings anymore, you know, afternoon tea. And that's probably quite a good incentive for people to get a bit of company, get delicious cakes, I'm sure, and nice tea in china cups. But you'll still be getting the feedback, I would imagine, that people want that, you know, you've got the opportunity then to share and to ask for feedback about your service. And does that work quite well? People are quite keen to give you feedback?
Definitely. I mean, I think it's about conversations. I know I've seen, you know, I've been at a lot of conferences and things that over the years and what have you, and conversations. I've done that sort of with connections and storytelling. And sometimes you get all this prescriptive stuff. And as a manager, you'll go, oh, here's another thing we have to do. Do you know what I mean? That people think, oh, we've got to do this, got to do that. But probably because I'm back on the tools, I think, as a manager, basically I'm back on the ground and you see these highfalutin, it looks like, things you have to do that is a bit complex. But the storytelling, for example, which I know I've mentioned to you about, is we bought a doll's house as a development plan. So rather than everybody read all these words, which I've got one, because obviously we have to have one like care inspection, needs your development plan, we've got it. So you write it in its words, but it's quite hard. You pull all your stuff together and put it in. But what we've done is we bought the doll's house. It looks like Burnley, and everything that we do in Burnley is in the doll's house. So we've got the roses round it. We've got the wee picket fence and the astroturf we're hoping to get in summer. We've got like the wee ironing board. Residents absolutely love it. We even bought the furniture that came flat packed for the doll's house, which I think was totally hilarious. But this doll's house was like a visual development plan to make it a bit of fun, but actually it's totally amazing, because every single person you talk to, staff will go, oh, I had a doll's house, my dad had lights in it, I had this, I had that. One of the men that's in here is from London, and he believes that actually is his house because it's this big house. And he said, that's my house. And he sits next to it. I'm thinking, well, I didn't realise this was going to be such a good thing that's going to work.
Stimulated a lot of conversation.
They get me deck chairs, and then the rest are going, have you seen the doll's house I've got today? And I bought birds for it. But it's a talking point. It's lovely. We've got nursery children coming in, and we'll get wee tiny nurseries. And then I've got pumpkins outside just now for Halloween. And then somebody said, you need to get tiny pumpkins for the doll's house outside it. So I'm like, oh, I need to find some more pumpkins. But I think it's just having conversations about having nice things, that just normal things that everybody has, and then they all actually are reminiscing about when they had a doll's house. But it's not like I'm setting up a reminiscence group because I'm an older person with dementia. You know, all these
it's quite a natural process that you're introducing.
So so we all bring in things, and we're going to have a perfumery, and we're bringing in perfumes and say, do you remember Reeve Ghosh? Oh my goodness, Red Door, oh, that was my generation. Chanel, so it might be Tweed, so we're going to now open a perfumery, and we're going to get everybody to bring in any perfumes it's meaningful to them. We can smell them after shave. But it's things the staff like to do and the residents like to do, and it's meaningful. And the fun, I've talked about end of life. One of the staff actually said, see, end of life, it's really important that, it smells and caring for people. And the last thing you think about a resident when you go in might be they always wore this poison perfume, whatever. And it might be something you want to do with a resident. So it's great how we're just talking about what perfume, and then we're moving it into and so it's what it leads to. So without saying we have to have ACP care plans, we've got to give end of life, all this boring stuff that people think they have to do to make sure that the care is written down and it's followed and it's consistent and all that. So making it fun, and people, to me, what is amazing in here is I'm just kind of coming up with the house, and the staff now are just coming up with all ideas on top of it. And I'm thinking, oh my goodness, this is so amazing. Housekeeper, all these staff are coming up with ideas on top of it, total running with it. So it's just great, because my brain's probably getting dead, but I'm only sowing the seed, and now they're running. So I'm thinking,
that's brilliant. That's brilliant.
How good is this?
What advice would you give to other managers if they're thinking about, implementing self-evaluation? Have you got any advice that you could give them? Where to start?
I like the present. I've got mine in a purple. I'm into colour, and you'll see I've used loads of paint in this home. It's not cost the earth, but basically what I do is big wads of paper is really off-putting, because you think, oh my goodness, here's something else I've got to do, and you've got 200 million other things. But the first thing I do is put it into a nice big presentation wallet in a nice colour. So like purple, it's in. Sometimes I put, it depends. So it's in individual slots, with the poly pockets. So I know it sounds a bit so simple, but it's in these. So I know the valuation documents in these two nice purple folders. So make it look like a nice job you want to do in the first place, because you want to pick up something nice. So that's me. I'm in a colour. So you take the purple, and then it's so easy. So I might go like 1.3. What is it? Compassion and whatever, dignity. And I'll think, right, what will I do today? I'll maybe walk out and, in the afternoon, tea, at tea time, and then so I'll open up at one of the standards, and then I'll have this wee blank tool that basically I write in, what time is it? I'm not going to spend more than 20 minutes. So I walk out 1 o'clock into lounge, who's there, what time is it, and what's happening. And I'll just read the words. What is it the care inspector says? Like, what's compassion? Actually, to being respected. I mean, they might not have a napkin. Are they got? So actually, fun enough, the other day I was in the dining room, and I walked in, and I didn't even have the audit. It's probably the good thing about once you know it, you actually don't need to have it in front of you, because you've got it in your head. But 3 of the ladies were sitting, and they had their tea, and they had no saucers, and I'm going, why have they got no saucers? And it's funny, the carer said, because they've got their cake on it. And I thought, so they have. They'd taken the saucer off, and the 3 of them had put their cake on it, and all the rest of saucers. But I'm like, oh yes, we like to take it off and put it in. And I thought, well, so you do, because everybody else has got saucers. But it was so good, the carer was like, well, that's their choice, they want to use it. But yeah, going back to that, I would just have your observation, and I'm doing it with the nurses. Actually, I had the care plan meeting and said, right, the next one, I'm going to open a page for you. Just open it, give them the sheet of paper, and go and say, go out and sit in the lounge for 20 minutes. read that and just see what is good. Are we following anything that meets any of those words? And then is there anything that you think is really good, and is there something you think that could be improved on? And that's basically it. But what I think is basically break it right down for staff. So is don't just give them the whole stuff and say, can you go and do a bit of that? And then give them the bit of paper, and then they bring it back. You know, even my deputy will say, well, I don't know if I'm doing it right. I'm like, there is no right way of doing it or no wrong. So she went, and I've done this and done this, but I noticed that they didn't do that. And I went, that's exactly self-evaluation is where you've noticed that something could be better, you've rectified it, so you've assessed the service. Do you know what I mean? So, and even in my residents, I was laughing because I've got a resident, and we're sitting up here, and she said, "Do you know, Eileen, do you know none of your clocks at the right time?" And I was like, "What do you mean?" She says, "Well, it's only 5 minutes, but that one has 10 past 12, that has 12:15, that one has," and then so I did say to her, "Who's the care inspector when you're here?" But I was laughing, and then when I looked round in the room I was in, the one in the window had 2 o'clock on it, so she hadn't noticed that one. I'm thinking, oh my goodness, that's it. I'm taking that clock and changing the battery. So she's really evaluating. So
she's evaluating the service for you too.
So I'm thinking, why does it have to be us? They can evaluate service as well, you know.
Yeah,
so I'm thinking, how good is that? You know, so some of that check. And now I'm like, what time is that? The clocks. But it's so good that if you that she's just telling me that the clocks are wrong, but she's actually evaluating service, in my opinion. You know.
Yeah. So you're using the sort of quality framework. You've been using the parts of the quality framework to sort of help you with your self-evaluation. And so I suppose from that you'll establish what you're doing well, and if you're using that to see what areas you need to sort of make an improvement on. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, definitely. I think you do need a guide, because even the many times I've used it, you can deviate, you get caught in different things. So you can have a wee quick look to say, what am I looking at? What standard is? What is it? And what I like about it is if you are giving the staff, then they'd say, what is the framework? What are they? And they go, I haven't a clue. But if you read, are you treating people with respect and dignity, or your staff well led, or how's the environment? You're actually reinforcing what the standards are and what are the expectations. What is a good standard? They might not know what is a good standard. Is there things that could be improved on? Or is there not? Maybe it's as good as it can be, but we need to look at something different. I've never found, I've never actually done it once. I've not found some small thing that could be, that could not improve on, you know. So
And what have there been any barriers, would you say, to implementing self-evaluation? I mean, you've kind of talked a bit about things that are maybe at the beginning, but it sounds like, you know, you've got staff on board, you've got your residents and relatives on board, and you're obviously speaking to them frequently to get information and ideas from. So
I think it's the words that people find it's maybe a bit of a scary word. What is self-evaluation? Again, it's just another thing we have to do for the care inspector. That is what people say. What is self-evaluation, self-assessment? You know, there are so many jobs to do, and what is it? And people seem to think, because I think the QAF thing, that was a big framework, you had to put hundreds of words in actually a long time ago.
Big,
This is so much easier because basically you can do it in sort of 10 minutes. You know, the framework, I think what people maybe think it's a huge big thing that takes loads of time, but basically you can just open a page, read it, what does it say, go and have a look, how we're doing it, and then, you know, so it's not,
and take it from there.
Thing. It could be if you thought about it too much and basically you wouldn't have time to do it. But what I did actually, and this is something I'm still learning all the time, and I'll probably keep learning as long as I go, but I had an audit I was doing for, say it was mealtime audit. Again, I'm talking about nutrition. And what I done then is I tied my observation in with the same audit. And what I done is I took some pictures of what was really good, and I took a photograph of what could improve on. And the thing that was improve on in there was they take the trolley inside, and if people were finished where they had some wastage, they had the trolley in the dining room. And I'm thinking, well, that's not good. That shouldn't be there while they're eating. So the trolley, and apparently they said, oh, the trolley used to always be outside the door. I was thinking it was always outside the dining room. I went, all right. So basically that sits back at the room. But that was a simple thing, which a huge big difference. They make sure that's outside the door, and then they come out sorted, much more room. But standards just creep back in. See if you don't keep, you know, gradually things say, oh, we stopped doing that a long time ago. So you have to keep doing it forever.
Yeah.
I think
And that,
it isn't
yeah,
it's constant. So
Yeah.
I think once standards are met, it's maintaining them is a hard thing.
Yeah.
To meet them is easy. To sustain improvements, you've got to keep doing it. So.
And that's why self-evaluation is that continuous process. Asking the 3 questions: how are we doing? How do we know what we're going to do now? And you've answered them really, really succinctly. So thank you very much for that. What's next for you, Eileen, do you think, in relation to self-evaluation? Are you just going to continue doing what you're doing?
Yeah, I mean, probably it is. You're involving the service users. So maybe I did give one of the relatives a King's Fund audit to do. She's a sort of quite high up job in quality assurance and pharmacist, you know, over the hospitals and what have you. So so I have involved your relatives in self-evaluation. So, you know, they'll just say, you know, you're so risk averse. They went to Millport all over summer, and I'm, you know, and I'm thinking, well, it's only 50 minutes, cross there, over and back and go, and they just loved that. So involving your relatives into your self-evaluation as well, and just say, you know, if you're sitting in that lounge for 10, I've not done it yet. I'm talking to you, I keep thinking of more things. While you're sitting there visiting, do you fancy just filling that form and seeing what you think is good, what's not?
Yeah, using that opportunity.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, because I said, yeah, I got the homework to do. So, so involving doesn't have to be the manager, it does it? It could be anybody, you know. It could be I've got a self-employed hairdresser. You could be somebody that comes in. Even there's a dog came in today that's going to come in every 3 weeks, as well. The nursery children. So maybe what I could do is now involve my external stakeholders in self-evaluation, which I haven't done yet because it's just come in my head. So, but getting it, you know, actually vision calls in just now. So I could say, what do you think the service? Is there anything you would think differently? So that would be going the extra bit.
Yeah. Sounds like you've got it all covered.
Right. How do you get, because I know again is in care and spit, again, it's looking at your visit professionals, questionnaires, surveys. See, try to get them to fill them in can be quite hard. So you're just thinking maybe it'd be a different way of when they're in doing their vision call at the minute, or it's not vision call, whatever it is. Maybe ask them, would you mind filling this in, because they're doing a service. Is there anything, but I might say, is there anything good, anything can improve on, because you don't want to put them in the spot because they're supplier, but just get some. I mean, I did get an email from a dentist saying how amazing it was because my activity person went round with her when she was in it, and it was great. What a difference. So I thought I'm taking that as a positive thing, because she said, well, it was so good to have somebody allocated to her because the dentists are so busy when they come in. So I'll take that as self-evaluation. So I think it's just like not thinking too much about it. You know, just thinking really how to use actually the framework best it can. And I've no way used it to its completeness. You know, I'm still work your way through it and dipping in and out it. I'm not using it every day, all days, all the time. I just think, oh, I haven't done anything for a wee while, I better, you know, pull one out and have a look and do it. I'm just the same as everybody else.
And I think that's the advice that, I think that's what we've been advising people as well, is, you know, start small. Don't, you know, you can't do the whole of the framework because it's absolutely massive. So you just start with small chunks of it and work your way through, just like you've done. So that's really good. Well, thanks very much, Eileen. I really enjoyed talking to you, and I'm sure people will have found your expertise in self-evaluation really helpful to help them get started.
Still learning, never too old to learn. Actually, I just heard last week that pork pies, you don't eat them cold, you don't go in the oven. I never even knew that. So I'm always learning. And that was a relative. So oh, I didn't know that. So it's interesting. So
okay. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you.